Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Leslie Robison. I'm the Dean of the School of Creative Arts and Letters here at Flagler College, and I'm joined today by some of the chairs of departments in our school. And I'm just going to let them introduce themselves. And if you would each please also say what majors are and programs are in your departments. We'll start with, let's go in alphabetical order. So we'll do Paige, Sean, and Jason.
Hi, I'm Paige Chapman. I'm the chair of the communication department, and we have four majors and minors in the department. You could major or minor in cinematic arts, which is our newest major. It's about filmmaking, digital media production, and journalists. These are the group that tell stories using the same set of tools, photos, video, and writing, but they tell different types of stories on the two sides of that major. Strategic communication, which is public relations, advertising, health communication, and then media studies. And this group critiques the media. We also have two standalone minors. You could minor in communication and media, or you could minor in film studies in the communication department.
Thanks, Paige. Sean?
Hi, I am Sean Fisher, and I am the chair in the Performing Arts program. And in Performing Arts, we have sort of two wings. We have the theater wing and we have the music wing. Right now, theater is a major with several different sort of focuses that I'll mention here in a second. And then we have music, which is a minor, but is expanding into a major in the near future. So most likely before you graduate, it will be a major. In terms of some of the sort of paths that you can go within our program, we have, of course, performance, which is acting. We have musical theater is another emphasis. And then we have sort of a design tech and stage management combination where you're learning how to run everything behind the scenes. Um, yeah, I think that covers it.
Jason?
My name is Jason Schwab, and I'm the chair of the Visual Arts Department. In our department, we have three majors, fine art, graphic design, and art history. We also have two BFA majors within our department. So that's a BFA in graphic design and a BFA in fine art. You can think of those as a sort of like an honors program within our department, essentially. They're a little bit more of an extension to your curriculum that you'd be getting from the bachelor's degree, so the Bachelor of Fine Arts in fine art or graphic design. Then we also have a few minors within the department, and an upcoming minor that's going to be starting in fall of 2027, which is the photography minor, and that's in collaboration with the communication department, which is super exciting. But in our department, we have minors in each of the majors, so art history, graphic design, and fine art. We also have an arts administration minor and an illustration minor and an advertising minor.
All right, thank you. And then the final department in the School of Creative Arts and Letters is English. Unfortunately, Kim Bradley, the chair, couldn't be with us today. She's traveling. And so she did send me some information. And so I'm going to answer questions. I'm going to ask the question and then answer the question on her behalf. So the English department has one major, but it really has two tracks. The major is English, but students can choose to emphasize the literature track or the creative writing track. Also, students could major in English and get a minor in creative writing. So it's possible to actually do everything in the major if you're driven to do that. Um, so part of the reason that we're having this webinar today is because we realize incoming students are probably curious about what their lives are going to look like starting at the end of next month. They might be anxious about, getting prepared for school, and we just wanted to answer any questions that you might have. So I do have some questions prepared that will try and cover a lot of that. Um, and I'll ask the chairs but you could jump in and ask a question at any time. So there is a Q&A where you can type in your question, and then our Director of Marketing and Communication, Holly Hill, will jump in and ask that question on your behalf, and we can answer that for you. Um, so just to get started though, maybe everybody could talk about what some of the first classes are that students take when they start out. So people may be getting their schedules around now and they'll see what classes are on their schedule that might be in your departments. And so some of the classes on their schedules are things they're wondering if they're prepared for that, what they can expect that classroom to be like and function like. So if you could each go around and talk about some of the first classes that students take in the major and what they can expect to learn. What does the first few weeks look like? And is there anything they need to do to be prepared for those classes? So, Jason, do you want to start?
Yeah, glad to. Thanks, Leslie. So the first, well, I'll go with fine art and graphic design because they have a synchronized foundations of their courses. So I'll go with those courses first. There's four of them, and those will be drawing one, visual culture, two-dimensional materials and concepts, and three-dimensional materials and concepts are what those are called. So all graphic design and all fine art students will be taking those. And it's our recommendation that you take two out of those four. You can mix and match any of those two for your first semester and then probably move on to the next two for the next semester. But any of the two out of those four would be fantastic for the fine art and graphic design students. In those classes, you're going to be rooted in the foundations of an art making, right? So this is going to be within drawing one, line, value, gesture, um, single point perspective, 2 point perspective, learning how to look at something and render it onto your two-dimensional surface. And then we go into visual culture, which is looking at how we understand the world that we most oftentimes engage with through media, right? Through things such as photography, film, video. Um, Semiotics becomes a big part of that class and then trickles its way certainly into two-dimensional materials and concepts, where you're going to be learning color theory, design principles, semiotics, as I had stated there. And then that is also very similar within your three-dimensional materials and concepts. You're just then working within that third dimension, within that one. When the moving over to the art history folks, they have a choice between three classes that they could be starting with, and that's going to be visual culture, similar to the others, Art History 1 and Art History 2. Art History 1 is taking you from a time period from the 1450s. Um, and then Art History 2 is moving into from the 1400s generally to 1945 is what you would be studying within those. So this is analyzing works of art, and then being able to both critically analyze those and describe them, right? And that's what you would be starting with as a foundation for the art history students.
Okay, thanks. Sean, do you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah, so in terms of sort of where our students get started, it actually varies quite a bit from student to student. We have our standard courses, the obvious ones that I think you could probably identify just by looking at the list, things like Intro to Theater, um, that type of class that just sort of welcomes you into the subject is obvious. But unlike a lot of disciplines, a lot of theater performance majors or design tech majors or music minors, they come from an extensive background in those areas. Maybe you did it in high school or you did it in junior high or community theaters and whatnot. So one thing that we do try to do is if someone is clearly on a certain track, so if you are an experienced actor or an experienced technician from high school, for example, we may actually encourage you into certain classes earlier than you normally would so that you can sort of fast track through those subjects. So, the obvious courses, the Intro to Theater, the Stagecraft, which is basically technical theater, how to produce shows from a backstage standpoint. It's sort of the fundamentals. Things like history classes and analysis type classes. Those are all going to be encouraged by your advisors and by the faculty. But I think the bigger question for you would be if you should be taking any of those more specialized classes. So if you think of yourself as a performer or a technician or a so-called techie that they would often say in high school, or a designer, then come and talk to us, and we actually will specifically funnel you into classes that are specific to some of your stronger interests. So.
All right, thanks.
I want to add to something that Sean just said. He said, reach out to the faculty in your department and ask them questions. And I encourage all of you to do that in all of the departments
Mhm.
because you're going to be working for first year students with a case advisor. So that's the person that you likely would have gotten your schedule from and you've been reaching out to with questions so far. But they advise across the entire college, and we are the experts in our departments. So
Mhm.
feel free to reach out to any of us. Our email addresses we could share with you, or you can find them online. But if you ask us individual questions, we might say, "Ooh, you know what I'd really like to get you into? This class would be a great fit now that I know you a little bit and we're learning about your interests." So don't be scared to reach out to us. We love to hear from new students. It's great to get to know you. And we don't necessarily see all of you the first semester because you're with a case advisor or you might not be in my specific class. So reach out, come to office hours. Office hours are when I promise to have my door open and be here ready to answer your questions. So take advantage of those opportunities to come meet us. Um, in the comm department, the answer is a little bit different depending on if you're a transfer student and you're coming in with some gen eds completed or all of your gen eds completed, or if you're a first year student. I wish we could ask you guys some questions to find out what you are doing, but for first year students, the bulk of your schedule is likely going to be those core classes, but we always try to get something from your major onto your schedule in the very first semester because we want to meet you. We want to see you in the classroom. And we know this is the thing you're stoked to come to school and learn about. So we want to make sure that you jump right into that from your very first semester. So for comm majors, especially those in digital media production, strategic communication, or media studies, you're likely going to be in an intro class for that major. And that could be like introduction to or principles of media studies or foundations of strategic communication or a news writing class or a multimedia production class. We try to get you into something like that. Or the intro class, kind of for all of those majors, is media literacy. So you might have seen a class that starts with COM on your schedule, means it's in the comm department, and it's probably going to be a 200 level class or a 100 level class for your first year. And then we'll move up to the 300 and 400 level as you get a little farther along. It's a little different for cinematic arts because cinematic arts is what we call an interdisciplinary major. And it's not just a comm major, it's actually a major in English, comm, theater, and art. And you get to design the way that you want to move through that track. So there's tons of opportunities for you to choose the classes that you want in all of the majors. You'll choose from a list of 4, you have to take these 2, or you'll choose from a list of electives and choose which ones interest you most. The entire cinematic arts major is built like that. So there is an intro class, Introduction to Cinematic Arts, but then from there, you're going to be able to choose your route really early in your career here at Flagler. So by the second semester, you could decide if you really want to dig into the art portion, if you're so excited to start writing, you get to make that plan for yourself. We also, in the cinematic arts major, have a visiting filmmaker. She's starting here this fall and going to be here for 3 years, making a film with students. It's a feature-length film. It's based on a book, and students in the writing for short subject class are going to start writing the script this fall. So as we move that film project from the very, twinkle of an idea into an actually shot, edited, and premiering film, there are classes that help that project move forward. And knowing what those classes are may help you decide what you want to take in a certain semester. So that was a ton of information, but ask questions, and it means that you do get a little chance to explore. But then as soon as we hit second semester and you're asking us questions, I think you can dig in even further.
Thanks. Yeah, so we did get a question. Someone wanted to clarify about the English major, because I was saying that they can major in English and do the literature track, but then minor in creative writing. They were wondering if there's a difference between the minor in creative writing, um, and the creative writing track. So, majors do require more credits than minors. However, one way to think about it is that if you're already majoring in English, um, like both tracks, whether it's the literature track or creative writing track, will take early and modern American lit or English lit. Um, and so as a minor, you wouldn't have to retake that. You would have already taken it. Um, so the you can minor in English. If you minor in English, if you're not in you can't minor in English if you're an English major. But if you're an English major, um, you will choose your track, which is either literature, or creative writing. One, it doesn't matter, like you'll get both of them, right? You're going to be doing a lot of writing, whether you're a lit major or a creative writing major, but you'll be doing more kind of thesis and academic writing in the lit track and more, creative, self-expression in the creative writing track. And if but they both read, a lot, so you'll take literature classes no matter which track you're taking. But if you were interested in fully exploring both tracks, the only way to do that is to major in English, and it would default to the lit track because when you I don't know why that is. Sorry. Now I'm confusing myself, and I wish Tim was here to answer this. Um, but for whatever reasons, we default to the literature track when you're majoring in one and minoring in the other. So you couldn't major in English with a creative writing track and then minor in English with a lit track. You can only minor in creative writing for whatever reasons we established it. I'm sure there's a logic to it. So if you are not an English major and you want to minor in something in English, you would be choosing to minor in English, which would be the literature track, or creative writing, which would be like the creative writing track. So hopefully that clarifies that. Another thing, I wanted to go back to is Paige mentioning office hours. That's something for incoming students. If you've only been to high school, this is your first time in college, you might not be used to the concept of office hours. You might think of it as being akin to like going to the principal's office, which is not at all what it is. As Paige said, her door is open for all of us. We invite you to come. We post the hours that we're there so that you know that you can talk to a real person. Of course, our students, contact us, via our Canvas, like our courses. They contact us via email, and they talk to us before and after class. But we reserve those hours so that if someone has specific questions or needs extra help, we're available to you. I do think that, if you have a question about, oh, what should I take next semester? I heard this is a good class. I don't know if this will work for my major, right? Like Paige was saying, go to your professor's office hours for a reason like that, in addition to needing help in the class. Did anyone else want to offer anything else about office hours or engaging with your professors before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, I can just say, and I don't want to speak for the other professors here, but the professors who I know and who I work closely with are very, very open to meeting with you. I mean, we have office hours, which are, maybe an hour, hour and a half a day, something like that. But most of the professors who I know are very willing to meet around your schedule as long as you sort of contact them and schedule it ahead of time. We're just very open to helping you sort through all of this. So feel free to reach out.
Yeah, I would second and triple all of those things. And then just adding another nugget to it of just ask us questions, right? Like chat with us about things. That's one thing I really regretted doing. We're all professionals in our fields, and you're going to be hopefully entering those fields, right? That's the goal. Talk to us about it, right? Ask us questions. I know you're just coming in as first year students, but right, ask those questions along the way, and that's just like another level of mentorship that we can provide for everyone. So come to those office hours, ask those questions. It'll be beneficial.
Um, let's see, Sean, did you want to answer the question that was sent to you?
Is this the one about minoring? That question?
So you got it already?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've
I
I've
answered
already
it.
yeah, I've
I
already
answered it. Yeah. I took Sean's answer and put it in the
Oh, okay.
Q&A.
Perfect.
I
Thank
want
you.
to say too that for those of you who are interested in, well, what does that minor look like, or what does this major look like? All of that is listed in the catalog. So it's something you can ask us directly. If you emailed me, I could send it to you. But if you also Google Flagler College catalog and then look at the programs of study, it will give you a list of all the classes that are required to complete a major or a minor. And if you have questions about any of those, reach out to us. But it's something, if you're kind of, "Oh, I'm interested in hospitality, but I don't know what I would do with that," go look at the list of classes that would be included in that. And then I have a ton of students in comm who also have either a second major or a minor in art, English, or performing arts. So you may find that you feel a little bit pulled in a couple directions just in this one meeting. There's an opportunity for you to study more than one thing here, and I would really encourage you to do that. You can explore those minors are a great way to get time in another topic that you're really interested in.
Yeah, most of our students either have a double major or at least one minor. Um, and that's another reason you might talk to a professor to figure out how, if you are feeling ambitious and you want to double major or you want to get several different minors, if you talk to us early, we can help you figure out how you fit that into 4 years so that you don't have to spend extra years trying to make that happen, right? Um, so moving on, I would like for you all to talk about in your departments a couple of things. So different opportunities that your departments offer for students to get engaged, and what are the best ways for them to meet other students? Like they can get great advice not just from their professors, but from a student who just last year had the class they're taking right now, or students who are, you know, going towards the same professional goals that they have coming in. So how can they seek out other students in the major to get that help from them? And what are some of the opportunities, the co-curriculars and things that your departments offer so that they can do those things? So Sean, do you want to start out?
Yeah, sure. First of all, we have in performing arts, one could argue that the majority of your time spent working towards your degree may be done in these extracurricular type activities, or these activities that are sort of partially curricularized and then partially extracurricular. Um, so, for example, we have a main stage season of 4 fully produced shows, musical, usually some kind of classic play, a new play. Um, and every single one of those productions has anywhere from 20 to 50 people working on them. And we do those throughout the year. Those are kind of the most high profile ones. We also have multiple singing groups, choirs, cabaret. We have a group that sort of tours with the community and performs for various events in the region. We have staged readings, which are usually new plays that are being developed, where you get to be sort of come in on the ground floor and be sort of a help develop new work as it's evolving. We just had one that one of my colleagues, fabulous Professor Leah Page, wrote a play. We just had a reading a couple weeks ago for that. So we're doing it even in the summer sometimes. We have independent projects. Sometimes students will sort of spearhead some kind of performance piece, and we try to support that whenever we can. So there's always need for people to participate in those. What else did I miss? Yeah. Oh, we have a directing class that does a series of short plays every year, and a lot of new actors and artists will come in and help support those projects. So there really are a lot of opportunities. And I would say that the most important thing in our field, in terms of sort of making your mark and finding success, is you really have to be a self-starter. You have to sort of step into the realm of collaboration. You can go to class and you can sort of stay on the fringes and watch everything happen, but you'll miss out on a lot of the best things. So if you show up and you see something that someone's doing, say, I want to be a part of this. If you see a faculty member or one of your peers, ask them, is there anything coming up that I might be able to help with? We are always filling positions as technicians, as of course, obviously actors through auditions, as assistant stage managers and production managers and publicity people. And all of these, every single project we do involves dozens of collaborators. And it's not uncommon to have someone who is a freshman by the end of their freshman year to sort of emerge as a leader in our program because they simply take the initiative to do that. We will take a new student who is really driven over someone who's been here for a while, who just kind of watches things happen. We will immediately embrace them and embrace you and sort of bring you in and sort of fast track you into more opportunities. So yeah, it's really a long list of opportunities, and you can just come to me anytime you want, and I can give you more specifics.
Great. Paige?
Yeah, I want to share a quick story about when I was in grad school. My very first semester in grad school in Iowa, I had moved from Florida to Iowa. It was my first winter. It was freezing. I felt like I was by myself. I was the only one sitting at home reading for class every weekend, scared of the snow. And it was awful. And then I came back from winter break, and in the spring semester, I found out everyone else in my program was doing the same thing. We were all at home thinking we were alone, when the truth is we were all going through the same thing. So don't forget to like look around your classroom and make some connections with other people, because if you feel like I'm the only one far away from home, you're not. I'm the only one who hasn't found my friends yet. You're not. I'm the only one who likes this thing I like. Oh, you're probably not. So talk to the people around you, and finding your people is going to make college so much more fun. So do talk to your faculty, but talk to your classmates. There's some things in the comm department that I think make it especially cool for collaborating with other people. If you're making media, you're working with a team. You're not doing it as a solo project. So the students who are in your class the very first few semesters are the ones who are going to help you make your thesis film or help you create the campaign for that organization in town when you're a junior or a senior. So you start building that group right now. Just out the hall, out of my door here, we have an edit lab here in the 66 Kuna building where our offices are, and students who are in production classes get 24/7 access to that room. So I've gone in on winter break and found students in there working. I've been in here at 11 at night and students are working. Um, so it's kind of a I don't know, throw you into the fire and you really get to meet people. And um, I've had students string up Christmas lights in there and make it homey. It's going to be a place on campus that becomes yours. So take advantage of those spaces. If you can do work in this lab instead of doing work in your residence hall by yourself, do that, man. Come in here and get in front of a computer next to somebody else who's also struggling to edit something or making a breakthrough and doing something really cool. So reach out to those groups. You should also be following us on social media. If you're not doing that, it's a great way to learn about club meetings, opportunities. We hire work study students in the comm department. So if you would like to follow us on um, Flagler.com on Instagram. You can see all of those posts go up. The summer's a little more quiet than it is in the fall and the spring, but follow us on Instagram to see those posts. We have a few clubs in the department. PRSSA is not just for PR majors, but it's called Public Relations Student Society of America. It's a great way for communication professionals to network, get professional experiences, and work with students and faculty to like boost your career goals. There is well, Holly Hill could talk about Aura sometime. That's something you would wait maybe a little bit later in your career to apply for a job at Aura, but it is an agency right here on campus where you could be doing real PR and marketing work. Strike Magazine is a magazine that has different editions depending on where you are in the country. And not Flagler College, but St. Augustine has a Strike Magazine that's almost entirely run by our students. You could be a photographer, art director, writer, a model. There's so many opportunities in Strike. I want to say they have 50 something people on staff, and they put out a gorgeous magazine every 6 months. We have a radio station on campus and a student newspaper. You can get involved with both through classes, or you can just get involved with those two things without actually taking the class. And then we also have a film club where the students are producing a film every fall and spring, from the generation of the idea to filming and premiering it. Happens, yeah, every fall, every spring, and that's the Flagler Film Club.
Thanks. Jason.
Awesome. Thank you. To also like double down on what folks are saying, it is so valuable. One, just it seems like too easy, but go to class, right? That's where you're gonna see and meet your people. Um, you're gonna do much better because you're going to class, right? But you're also gonna like meet everyone. They're doing the same thing as you. They're going through the same struggles. And particularly on our side of the house, um, in visual art and graphic design predominantly, right, they're studio based. So you spend a lot of time in the studio making work. So that's both during class and then so encourage folks to continue that after class, right? Like find your people and come to the studio. Yes, you're going to see everyone working there until midnight, 11 p.m. And that's kind of like a very different energy. And kind of like a bonding thing that goes beyond what you're just going to experience in class when the professor is there. So we're fortunate to have the Molly Wiley Art Building. That building is open 24/7 for students, and we have many studios in there. So whatever you're working, right, if you're in a printmaking class, you're going to be in studio two, where the printmaking presses are, and you'll be working in there, and everyone will be kind of grinding and doing the same thing. So take advantage of that, just as Dr. Chapman was saying. Right, go to class and then go and be in the spaces. We've got these beautiful spaces for you. A lot of them, are open 24/7, and then just go and be there. On the visual art side of the house, we run a good amount of events. We are very closely linked to the Chris Beller Art Museum that's on campus. Julie Dickover is the director of that space, and every semester she has an exhibition, and in coordination with that is almost always an artist talk. The artist comes to campus, they walk through the space and talk about their work, which is a very rare opportunity, right, for that to happen. So take advantage of that, see your people and what they're going to be doing there as well. So artist talks, exhibition openings. We have a couple events like the Finger Mullet Film Festival, which Professor Moser puts together, and that's an experimental film festival that he had started maybe like 5 or so years ago, I want to say, something in that territory. And that's an excellent opportunity to one, meet and kind of mingle with your people, but then the community as well too. People will be coming in from quite some distance to attend that. We internally hold some of the Zine and Print Fest, which is something that I had started where my book arts class puts together zines, and we looped in the screen printers and the printmakers, and we have all of their work on display and for sale in the Chris Bellart. And that's a great way to like see what your students are up to, support some of them as well, grab some cool artwork for usually really good prices. We have, and I know the communication department has it as well. They have Com Week and we have Design Week. So those are big events where there are guest speakers that come in. They're giving panel discussions, demonstrations, talks about their practices, whole variety of things that are happening there. And those are great events to attend. Two clubs that are currently in the visual arts realm, the Photography Club and AIGA, which is Graphic Design Specific Club. And that one is a national organization that has chapters to it. And that is an amazing way to work with some stellar designers. And again, just kind of steep yourself even more so in this practice with people who are as interested as you are. I think that's it on my end.
So covering for English department. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to add, we also have St. Augie Shorts Film Festival, which has been going on, I think it's 4 years now, or this coming year is the fourth year. And that film festival is all of the films are chosen by our students. They help run the festival. They do the red carpet and they do the introductions for all the films and help give out the awards. So another film festival opportunity here on campus. And yeah, let me let you talk about English.
Yeah, so for English, there's several ways to get involved. One of the coolest and easiest ones that I've gone to myself a bunch of times is to go to English department open mic nights. And that's where students that I've seen from, right, I've seen theater students come and present this. Some students have come and played music, but it can be poetry, verse, spoken word, music. The the work that students are working on in writing in class, they kind of come try it out on an audience at the open mic night. So once a month, the English department hosts that at a local coffee shop, and it's free. And I would encourage you to do that. And sorry, looking at my notes to see what else Kim left for me. That, not your very first semester, but eventually a couple other ways to get involved in English would be you can actually, after you're taking your first year writing course, if that's something you're really interested in, you could become a tutor for other students and help them with their writing. Also, we have the Flagler Review, or Flare, which is a national literary magazine we put out. It's award-winning, and it is completely edited by students. So we accept poetry, art, other literature. Sometimes they publish some interviews, and it's not just student work, but professionals from all over the world apply. And so it's a great practice for anyone who wants to get involved in that industry, and students can take that course more than once. There's also honor societies. There's an English honor society and a national honor society that many of the English department students are involved with. Another thing is the Storytellers Writer in Residence. Flagler College every semester has a new author, usually an award-winning published author, comes and stays at Flagler, and they offer a one credit class that students can take over and over again, where that author will read a book, like what's their favorite novel or book, and they'll read that with the students and they'll talk about what went into that and how it influenced them, and talk to the students about how they can be influenced by the literature that they love in their own writing. So it's, just a remarkable experience to be involved with, and you'll meet, you know, a published award-winning author. That author will also give talks throughout the semester and readings. We also have a smaller writers in residence program where other writers will come through and students can get involved with that. So just talk to your professors about how to do that when you get here. So I think I want to leave some time at the end for people to ask questions. Remember that you can ask us questions as you need to, and Holly will send those questions to us. But I'd like to kind of skip ahead. One question that I'd ask my chairs to think about um, had to do with, I know parents often get worried about if their students want to get involved in a creative pursuit. They're worried that it will be hard for their student to make a living when they graduate. That's like something that's really not true. I think it's a stereotype that gets put on artists and creatives all the time. Um, we have so many like very successful graduates of Flagler College, and I'm really proud of that legacy. Um, the entrepreneurial spirit that students pick up while they're here is something they take with them into their lives beyond college. And definitely we all have had students who have been successful just as soon as they graduate, and others who have been successful a number of years later. And they keep in touch with us, which is really nice. So I was wondering if you could each talk about maybe, and this is something I don't want students to worry about graduation just yet. Um, but can you each talk about some of the different career paths that students have taken, and how did their time at Flagler affect where they went and what they did? Paige, do you want to start?
Yeah, I do. Many of the majors in the comm department require an internship, and so I want to kind of address a couple questions that showed up in the Q&A as well in talking about this. Yes, we do have students who do work study and who do work on the film. We have a student who's an ambassador who also went to Bermuda and shot film there last summer. We have a student and was very involved with Book of Freedom. So that can absolutely happen. A student was worried about being able to commit to both. It's a lot of work, but college is a lot of work. So if you prioritize it, you can absolutely make that happen. We also have work study positions available on campus that maybe require allow you to be a little bit more involved in the department. So we have students who work in our equipment room, and working in the equipment room and getting to know that gear and being able to work right next to the TV studio and also work in the TV studio will help you as a cinematic arts major. So you'll be able to address those things, or learn more about those things and make it work with a paycheck as a work study. We also require our students to do internships. So we have students who I'm looking over here. We have students who were at Old City PR, students who were at RTX, students who were at the local news radio station, the local news television station. We have students who turned their internship into a job. We have students who do social media and marketing work at Florida School for the Deaf and Blind. We have students who work at several who work at the local television news station in Jacksonville, students who work at a podcasting studio that's here in town. One student was working as a server at a wedding venue and now has taken over their social media, and that is the job she's paid to do. So she's not serving drinks anymore. She's running the social media account as a PR professional. So there are lots of opportunities, and we help you while you're in school by requiring that internship and then helping set you up with somebody who could guide you into that career. We also, Jason mentioned, we have Comm Week every spring. The week before spring break, we invite communication professionals from around the world to come and meet you. And that is a great time to put on your business casual clothing and bring a copy of your resume. So if you hear a really cool speaker, you can drop that with them and ask them a really brilliant question and help put your face in front of theirs and bring you to the front of mind. Flagler is a pretty small town, so anything you can do to just remind us about you puts you at front of mind. So when I get an email, I'm looking for somebody who could do XYZ, I will think of you because I know what you're interested in. But that only happens if you do come talk to us. If you ask questions in class or you come to office hours, you let us know what you're interested in, then you will be the one that we think of when those opportunities come up. That was a little all over the place. Did I answer both of the questions from the chat, Holly, about cinematic arts?
You did.
The other one, sorry. We do cast the films from the theater department. We have student actors who do that. They did costuming. We have a screenwriting class that happens in the English department. There is tons of overlap. Like I said, cinematic arts is not a comm major. It is an English comm theater art major. So there are tons of opportunities for you to be involved with securing locations, getting permitting. If you're a money person, you can help with the budget. The film was funded by Flagler. The student film productions have been self-funded so far, but I've encouraged them to apply for undergraduate research funding that would allow them to create a project using funds that came from the school. And we have had that approved as recently as the spring. And we've had some alumni and our advisory board donate money to have another student film made. So it's not entirely out of pocket, but some of that has come out of pocket for student films. We also have gear that you can check out here, and that is bringing down a huge expense if you can use Flagler gear to shoot rather than having to buy all that yourself.
Let's go back to the question about eventual professional and after graduation. Jason, do you want to talk about on the art and design side?
Yeah, that sounds great. I promise you, you don't need to be a starving artist. That those days are over. We don't need to do that anymore. On the fine art side of things, where we do see a lot of students go to grad school and they're pursuing a master's degree and then moving into teaching, right? That bit teaching and then also being a practicing artist. We've seen a fair amount of students recently going the more entrepreneurial route. We've had recently two students open up a ceramic studio, and they've been doing some like big collaborations across the country with brands and selling both jewelry and ceramic jewelry, and then also home goods, right? Cups, plates, these objects that have that function to them. And they're both practicing artists as well too. Beyond that, so they have like their fine art practice and then their more commercial practice. As we could say with that, one of our graduates had opened a bespoke letterpress shop that's in town, and that's gorgeous. Brian Tempero from MC Pressure had done that. But we've had students, move into being art conservationist. That would be, so working in the art conservation side of things as a fine art major, a fairly newer territory that I think is quite exciting for fine art folks is what do we call like experiential design? And I had experienced it, no pun intended there, recently when I went to Japan at this place called Team Lab. So they're designing these things that the body engages with. You walk through knee-high water and sensors see where you're going, and a fish will come and circle you, a projected fish, right? These things that you could learn this technology it's sort of like this hybrid between like art and engineering and experience and technology that I think is quite exciting, that is quite perfect for a fine art major to be endeavoring into. We've had people become illustrators, art therapists, and uh, the options are, I think folks are going to be looking, right? The question may inevitably come up, right, as far as AI goes. And, it's something that everyone's going to be thinking about and you should be thinking about. And I think the endeavors, certainly this school in general, the creative arts and letters, these endeavors that are manifested from humans are going to become really important. We're going to cherish them and value them quite heavily. So this notion of being a creative and the things you'll learn from all of our departments and certainly the visual arts department of how to be a critical thinker, how to be a creative, how to be innovative is going to be really, really valuable at this moment in time. So I think we're well positioned to tackle this thing, right? That's inevitably on its way. Graphic design is pretty easy to point you in directions that, right? You could be doing UX, UI design, app development, social media coordinator, brand identity. Some folks just move into being freelance designers. They do a little bit of both. They work for an agency and then they're a freelance designer on the side and then become, popular enough as a freelance designer that they just create their own business, right? And they start moving from there. We've had folks land at Red Bull, Patagonia, Squarespace, Nike, World Surf League, Disney, Adobe, like some really, big names, and working on that design side of things. And then for our art history folks, we've had folks moving into curatorial positions, registrar positions, working within museums and nonprofits and galleries. This is certainly something that the fine art folks could be endeavoring into as well. Um, the art history students could position themselves to be grant writers, where they're working with the museum and they're the ones writing the grants to gain money, right, to fund the programming. And that skill set, you would absolutely, you'll do a lot of writing as an art history major. I'm certainly as an English major as well. And that becomes extremely beneficial for getting people some money to do amazing things with. We've had folks land at the Smithsonian, the Cummer Museum, which is local, the Orlando Museum of Art, Saatchi and Saatchi in London, and a lot of grad schools, right, that folks from the art history program end up endeavoring into. So going to get their master's and then their PhD. And that would allow you to teach within that field. I think that's it on my end.
Sean, do you want to talk
Yeah,
about what your students have gone on to do?
sure. This is actually one of the questions we get the most often when I speak with not so much students or potential students, but their parents or other people who are concerned because they hear about the performing arts, let's say theater, for example, and they think, well, how many opportunities are there out there for someone who learns how to act to go up on a stage and perform? And it's a great question. But I think what's more important, and there's a lot of overlap here, especially in Paige's realm with comm and film and all these other things that her department focuses on. But the live and media entertainment industry is approaching $1 trillion. This is just the American industry is approaching $1 trillion right now in the scale and scope of it. So although we often think about theater or performing arts majors as going into theater specifically, um, our students also go into things like film and television, obviously. They go into video games, voiceovers. Um, when you walk around and tell people you read a book, but actually you listened to it in your car, that would be an actor. That would be someone with a theater degree who has done that. Actually, Jason was talking about these experiential, sort of immersive types of things. And there's an overlap there in performing arts and visual arts where you might have theater artists, technicians, designers, and performers who sort of create that those works and share them. Um, in terms of specifics, students who I've been here for about 5 years at Flagler, but I've got about 20 years before that. And so if I look back on all of the students who have studied in programs that I was involved with and looking at their careers, we've had people on Broadway, people off Broadway, people in national theaters, people who've gone into film and television. I know quite a few have moved into, like I mentioned earlier, ebook narrations. That's a big industry now. People who do voiceovers for commercials and whatnot. Just the other day here in St. Augustine, I met with a former student of mine who she's on tour with a big music and dance company goes all over the country and beyond around the world. And she's on tour with them working as a technician and whatnot. The amphitheater that's not too far from here, which hosts legendary artists, Bob Dylan, Ringo Starr, people like that. The person who runs that entire technical operation there came out of our program here at Flagler. So the options are vast. And then, of course, you go into things like education, as Jason had talked about. Uh, some of our graduates teach high school and middle school. Some of them become professors after they go to graduate school. And we've had a lot of success with this. I can say this honestly, every student that I have worked with over the past 25 years who has decided they wanted to go into graduate school, which is really a great boost towards your career, everyone who has endeavored to do so that I've worked with has made it into a graduate program, usually an MFA program, which is the degree that professors have in the arts. So I'm confident that if you are a go-getter and you come to Flagler, or you obviously are at Flagler, but if you're a go-getter, you really have a lot of diverse options that are on the table. And even if for some reason you decide not to go into one of these areas that is directly connected to our industry, we always remind people that a unique thing about being a performing arts major is you are in a constant state of audition. You are auditioning all the time. You audition for little short plays and long plays and main stage plays. By the time you have graduated, you have the most extensive practice in how to interview for a job that you can get anywhere. And so I know a lot of graduates who have decided to go in other directions, and they just are being so successful in other fields simply because they know how to present themselves in the way that they want to present themselves. In theater, and we are in a constant state of trying to solve impossible problems. And so our majors tend to have a lot of success professionally, either in the industry or in some other field. So that's just something to I don't know, put any concerns to rest. Yeah, and I think I've said enough there.
Yeah, we just have a couple of minutes left, and I know there's still some questions in the queue. One of those I can answer really quickly about the authors that come to campus. If you have someone that you want to see come and you want to suggest it, we do have people who run the Writers in Residence program and the Storytellers Author in Residence program. If you want to just send me an email, or Kim Bradley, the chair of the English department, an email, I can just get you that information. Or, just when you come on campus, just ask one of us who runs Storytellers. It's Christopher Hooks. Um, but to take care of that one. And then someone was just asking if there's any tips on how to maximize our college experience without overloading ourselves. That's a great question, because of course you want to take advantage of as many opportunities as possible. And we've been sitting here for an hour telling you about all of these opportunities that are available to you. So chairs, what are some tips on how to do it but not overdo it?
Yeah, I'll give a quick one and then I'll shut up so other people can jump in here. I think one of the challenges being in a creative field, and all of these fields are either creative where we actually create art, or it is adjacent to that creativity in some way. Obviously, creative work, we always use this phrase, it can be infinitely expandable. You can work on the same thing forever and still find new creative ways of improving it. So I think to be successful in college as a creative student, you really have to sort of compartmentalize your process. So what I mean by that is you give yourself a certain amount of time to work on certain things that are important to you. If you're working on a show and you have to memorize lines, you give yourself a certain amount of time each day to do that. And when you reach the end of that, you move into your next thing where you're focusing perhaps on classes, your general education classes or whatnot. So I think the main thing is don't just drift through. Really look at the things that you need to do and come up with a sort of a structured a method of organize those things into blocks of time. And our faculty, I think, is quite good at doing this because we have to do it still at this point in our careers. Come to us and we will help you organize. We will look at your schedules and say, oh, you're spending too much time on this. You need to give yourself more time here and whatnot. And we can really help you through that.
Jason or Paige?
I just hung this sign in my office. It says, everything is figure outable.
Mm.
And I like this idea because if you come in here with a problem, we can figure it out. We might not be able to solve it today, but I'm going to let you walk out the door headed in a better direction. I've had students who regularly come to my office hours or feel really comfortable with me where we see each other a lot, drag their friend in and say, ask Dr. Chapman. Because if you are sitting on a problem by yourself, you don't know how you're going to make the schedule work. You don't know how you're going to make the finances work. You don't know how you're going to make this thing work. And you think nobody can help me, just try. Just give it a try. Come ask me because I might be able to tell you, oh, there is this scholarship that I just got an email about, or there is this opportunity that would be a good fit for you, or you actually didn't need that class to graduate. So let's look at your schedule and make a plan for you. Um, so don't sit on the thing and fret about it yourself. If you aren't sure if somebody can help you, just ask. And a department chair is a great place to start that asking because we know about a lot of the resources on campus and we can help guide you to the place that might help. So get involved, but prioritize yourself. Like I really do care about your health and your mental health, and none of the school stuff's going to go well if you're not taking care of your self first. So prioritize that.
One thing it's maybe I don't know. I think people can do more than they think as well too, which is exciting, right? You don't be too anxious about overwhelming yourself. You're gonna know when it happens, right? And then you got to pull the brakes. Like Dr. Chapman was just saying, you got to prioritize yourself. It's only 4 years, right? We hope we're all living to close to 100 nowadays. Push my advice, and it really stems from a regret of my own of not giving everything I had in undergrad. I really didn't. I gave much more when I went to grad school, but in undergrad, like I could have done more and I would have gotten more from it. And then who knows where things would have been after that as well, too. But just give it everything that you've got, right? You should be pretty much drained at year 4 and ready to and that'll also prepare you to move into the workforce, which is, as we all know, and if we have any parents in the audience, is not an easy endeavor by any means. So do all the things, right? You probably only want to do this opportunity once, right? It's not inexpensive to go to college by any means. So really get and milk everything you can out of it, but you have to pay attention to, right? You got to sleep, you got to eat reasonably well. Like all those things are super important. You can't neglect those as well. They're very basic, but boy, do they go out the window pretty quickly. So you got to prioritize yourself, but try to push and try to get everything. You're going to leave feeling like really rewarded in doing so.
All right. So just to revisit, there's a couple more questions. Just following up on this one, any tips for parents of young children that are looking at going back to school and trying to manage time between
Mm.
school and raising babies? Um, Man, I was teaching by the time I was raising babies, and if I could bring them to the office with me, I did. I've taught a class holding a baby before, and I've had students bring their babies to class. I'm not saying that that's going to be something that can happen all the time, but we're all humans, and we all know about how difficult it can be to make it work. So. Um, that's the one thing to remember about Flagler is it's a small place. We make connections, we get to know each other all really well. And if you're struggling to um, get an assignment done and get your kid from daycare. That if you are talking to your professor about that, they could maybe give you a different deadline or swap some things out, right? So we all want communication from our students, and we will acknowledge your humanity as you acknowledge ours. So that's um that's my 2 cents. Uh, and then I know there was another question about filming in town. Paige, did you answer that one?
Well, I did ask Brennan to email me
Okay.
directly so we can talk about it in more detail because it's a big question and I would love to talk about it. So if you email me, I can email you back. We could jump on Zoom um, and talk through it because it seems like there could be follow-ups to this question as well.
Yeah, looking at that question now, I'm seeing that, yeah, and some of that are going to be questions and conversations you have once you're on campus and your professors can help you out. Holly, were there any other lingering questions that we didn't get to?
No, you guys got to them all.
Okay. Good. Well, I hope everybody feels confident reaching out to the four of us with any follow-up questions you may have. You can find all of us on the Flagler College website. And I believe in the chat, our emails were also posted. So if you do think of a question, feel free to reach out. Once you get on campus, feel free to reach out. I'll just remind everybody that during Welcome Week, when all the new students come to campus, there is an academic session. Several academic sessions. There will be one for our entire school where we will all meet in the auditorium, and then we'll have breakout sessions by department. So you will see the four of us again during Welcome Week, which is going to be at the end of August. And please come to that because you'll be able to ask more questions and get even more specific information about your major. Thank you so much, department chairs, for joining me today. And thank you, audience, for coming. I wish you all well. And like I said, just be in touch. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
See you
Thank
soon.
you. See you soon.